Welcome to YouTube channel SKS Education Tech. The title of this video program is Learning and Outcome-Based Education Teaching. Learning is a permanent change in behavior, and outcome-based education teaching is nothing but a teaching methodology which is focusing on learning of outcomes and ensuring of demonstration of learning at the end of the session. Let us start. Let us define outcome-based education. Outcome-based education means clearly focusing and organizing everything in an educational system around what is essential for all students to be able to do successfully at the end of their learning experience. This definition was given by Mr. William G. Spady in 1994. So outcome-based education is not a very recent phenomenon. In OBE, what and whether students learn successfully is far more important than when and how they learn something. Learning is a process of relatively permanent change in behavior of a learner to enable him or her to perform a suitable task successfully. Recent connectivism learning theory is based on the integration of all the learning experiences right from the school to higher education institutions. School learning experiences, general and relevant ones, are acting as platform on which the new information and experiences in higher education institutions are constructed. The students are also continuously immersed in technology-based information resources and social media influences. So, the total learning is nothing but old and new abilities are connected to the students' acquired learning outcomes. So, the total learning in a higher education institution is the sum total of the experiences in school, experiences in the formal education of higher educational institution, and the influence of the technological environment around the student. Let us discuss something about teaching methods. Teaching is a process of facilitating process of acquisition of intended learning by selected learners. The new name of a teaching professional is a learning facilitator or facilitator. So we can replace facilitator, uh, we can replace the terminology of teacher by the term facilitator. A few outcome-based teaching methods suitable for learners of 14 age to 18 years. Classroom or lab demonstration by students' teams. Ask and answer game method, dual and quadra groups. Performing skills development methods. Library and home assignment based tutorial method. Classroom and department seminar method. Mini and minor major project method. Blended learning method on and offline. Flipped classroom method on and offline. Internship based training and project work method. So these are some of the outcome based education teaching methods which ensure much better learning, which can be demonstrated by the learner at the end of learning session. Let us now consider learning domains. Cognitive domain comprising of theoretical facts, concepts related to mind and development of thinking. Affective domain comprising of feelings, values and attitudes related to heart. Psychomotor domain comprising of manual or physical skills with pre-learned steps of doing related to muscles and limbs. Interactive domain comprising of skills of communication of ideas related to interaction with others using mouth and body. Mr. Bloom has given hierarchy of learning levels in increasing or decreasing order. So this is known as taxonomy. So Bloom's taxonomy of cognitive domain is something like this. The lowest member of the level of the learning is remembering. Second, understanding, followed by applying, synthesizing, evaluating, creating, and from remembering to creating, all these six levels, they are in rising level. So the level of learning and difficulty level of learning goes on increasing from 1 to 6. In traditional methods or in traditional higher education and school education system, we only confine to levels of 1, 2 and 3. Whereas in case of outcome-based education, the level of learning has to be enhanced from 3, 4 to 5. So in higher education, the level may be 3, 4 and partially 5, whereas in case of school education, it may be 2 to 3. On-job learning has the highest level of learning, evaluating and creating. That is the uh, area of learning in the industry or in the chambers of the commerce. Krathal taxonomy of affective domain. Affective domain deals with the feelings and values. The lowest level is receiving, responding, valuing, organizing, and characterizing. This is the rising level from 1 to 5. In traditional education, the higher educational institution, they consider from level 2, 3 to partially 4. Whereas in school education, it can go from 1 to 3. Outcome-based education has been shown by red color. That should be the area or the labels which should be considered for outcome-based education. Whereas on-the-job learning or the training in the industry or in the chambers of commerce may be of the level 4 and 5. The Way's modified taxonomy of psychomotor domain. This is a manual skills. Observing, imitating, practicing, and adapting. These are the four labels in the taxonomy of psychomotor domain, and it is rising from level 1 to 4. In the traditional higher education, we only limit from observing to imitation, whereas in outcome-based education, we should have the learning level from to imitating to practicing. Whereas on the job training, the level has to be 3 and 4, that is practicing and adapting. Sony's taxonomy of interactive domain. There are 4 levels: exchanging information, explaining ideas, 3, leading discussions, and 4, negotiating favor. They are 4 rising levels. In traditional higher education institution, they confine themselves from level 1 to level 2. Whereas in outcome-based education, it should be from label 2 to 3 and overlapping with label number 4. But on-job training should be focusing at the highest level of uh, interactive domain, that is the negotiating favor. How to use the taxonomy labels in interpreting the curriculum and uh, deciding and planning the teaching content. Now you have seen Bloom's cognitive domain taxonomy has 6 labels. Krathal affective domain taxonomy has 5 labels. Dave's psychomotor taxonomy has 4 labels. Sony's interactive domain taxonomy has 4 labels. Now I have a practical suggestion that you should use 3 labels for reducing the complexity in planning the session and also in conducting the assessment, etc. These 3 labels may be low, medium and high, represents 3 and higher level. Whatever may be the hierarchy labels in different taxonomy, 1, 2, 3, these are the 3 labels and they are easy to understand. Now let us compare traditional and OBE approaches, outcome-based education approaches. In traditional approach, teaching is mandatory, learning facilitation is optional. This is traditional point of view. In traditional education, teacher-centered and domination are by the teacher. Input-output based traditional education planning. So the teacher takes all the trouble to plan the content and the method of presentation, and it is mostly lecture method. Input is syllabus directed lecturing and output is success in the university results. So output is only university result, better marks, and these better marks have very less correlationship with the requirements of the jobs in the industry. Nobody plans for outcomes. However, outcomes may occur incidentally. In outcome-based education, learning facilitation is mandatory, teaching is optional. If learning is taking place without teaching, do not do teaching. That is the idea. Outcome-based education, learner-centered and planned, keeping the learner in the center. Every academic activity is driven by the outcome at the end of the program. The course outcomes are assessed after learning. Course outcomes induce the program outcomes POs and program educational objectives PEOs, which are evaluated as attainment as impact of the learning of COs or course outcomes. Whom we are teaching, the learners, they are important partners in the total game of teaching and learning. So facilitating learning of whom? That's a question which should be asked before you start planning or executing any teaching session. Pedagogy. What is pedagogy? Pedagogy is an art and science of process of learning by children below 17-18 years or so. Are you teaching children below 17 years? If they are the children, then use pedagogical principles of teaching. If you are teaching adults, so andragogy has to be used. Andragogy is an art or science or process of learning by adults. Are you teaching adults of age more than 17 or 18 years? Consider this and then use the psychology of learning included in the concept of andragogy. It is you who should decide which one of the two terms, pedagogy or andragogy, applies to your educational situation. In nutshell, pedagogy is teaching children. Children can be controlled by the teacher, and whatever teacher says, the children tend to believe on that. In andragogy, it is teaching art and science of the teaching of adults, and they do not have full faith on the teacher. They have their own background knowledge and they always argue. And that is why in planning and in execution, make them partners, make the adult students partners, involve them in planning the sessions and also in assessment if it is possible. Thanks for listening with interest. Please go to the recent YouTube channel of Professor S.K. Soni on education technology, SKS Education Tech, to view more useful video programs on education technology. Thanks for listening with interest.